Hey YouTube, it's Simplifier Guns. I just wanted to basically, I see all these other videos about the Glock 26 and you know, everybody's got their own take on it, whether they like it or they don't like it, so I wanted to give my little spin. So, here's my Glock 26, slides back unloaded, there's no magazine, here's the magazines, there's no ammo in either of them. So, basically, this is the subcompact version that Glock offers in 9mm. It's a Gen 4. I don't know if you could see that, but I'll try to get as close as I can. There's Gen 4 right there. And I've had it for about maybe close to 8 months. And I've taken it to the range numerous times and put, I don't even know how many rounds through it, but so far it's I mean, I've only had a few hiccups, but I think it was due to some bulk ammo that I was buying because I quit buying it, and I haven't had a single, you know, failure to feed or, you know, failure to eject, anything like that. So it's really well made. This is actually the first Glock that I've ever owned. I've had everything from, you know, the XDM to the Smith & Wesson SD9. I've had a Rock Island Armory 1911. I've had a Charles Daly 1911, just a compact version. I've had a lot, so kind of been around the block, I guess you could say. But this, like I said, is my first Glock that I've ever owned, and it's great. I'd buy 1,000 more. One thing, I guess going back to, you know, what started me in guns. I don't know, things that go boom. I think it's the you know, the guy inside me that, you know, we like things that blow up and whatnot. So I think that's what sparked my interest first off, and then, you know, I went to shoot, and the competitive nature of me kind of came out, and I wanted to shoot better and be able to protect my family and my wife and, you know, my brother, and, you know, so that was one of the main reasons why I continued. But that was kind of a side note. Back to the Glock. Like I said, it's a great gun. First one I've ever owned, or first Glock I've ever owned, I should say. And I will admit that I was a little bit skeptical at first because a lot of people that I've talked to, you know, have a Glock or have shot a Glock and they like it a lot. But I thought it was kind of like a Nike Adidas thing. You know, some people, you know, like Glock just for the name. Some people like Adidas just for the name. I thought that was kind of, you know, what it was because they look kind of chintzy, kind of cheap. And I think the polymer frame kind of has a little bit to do with that. You know, it just doesn't seem very high quality, but I can assure you that it is. It's very well made, very well put together. You know, you could throw this thing around and it wouldn't you know, it wouldn't cause any hiccups or anything. Let's see. I guess I'll talk about the main reason I decided to get the 26 instead of, you know, a different style Glock, different model Glock. I had everything from, like I said, Springfield Armory XDM. Most of them were in 9mm or 45. I don't really understand, you know, 40s. People make this big deal about 40s not having, you know, stopping power or knockdown power, and they say the same thing about 45s, about how you need to have a 45, otherwise, you know, you might as well not have a gun. That might be a separate video, but for right now I just want to focus on this gun. I've had some of the other more full-size service model type, and they were all great for accuracy, taken to the range, things of that nature. But then I started getting more serious about my concealed carry, and you know, you try to conceal an XDM, one of their full size, and you're pretty limited. You can only really carry it in the winter because that's the only time that your clothing really allows it. And I'm more of a skinny guy, so, you know, it especially bulges out in my stomach, or if I'm carrying it at like 5 o'clock. So I kind of got a little bit more conscious of that, and that's why I wanted to switch to a smaller gun, subcompact or compact. So I went to my local dealer and felt this thing out. I have to admit though that the other 3 generations of Glocks I was not a fan at all, because I felt that the grip was just too boxy, and I feel like in the Gen 4s with the adjustable back strap, it kind of rounds it out a little bit, and it didn't feel so cut and dry around the corners, and it kind of really forms to your palm a lot better than the other generations. So that's one thing that actually attracted me most about this, along with its size, obviously, but the fact that it just felt so ergonomic in my hand from the very second I picked it up. So that was a major factor in my decision to get this. Also, the gun store that I went to, the guy's really knowledgeable. He definitely helped my decision along. They're not out to make a buck. I mean, ultimately they are, but they're not going to sell you a gun that's more expensive based solely upon because they want you to spend more money, I guess. So, anyways, I guess first off I'll talk about the basics of this Glock. Like I said, it's the 26. It's their subcompact version, and it's my first Glock. And if you don't own a Glock, you definitely should, because they are amazing. The only thing that I had not really trouble with, but I guess my only gripe about it, was that when I first got it, after having all the full-size guns that I've had, I'll put this magazine in, it's empty. After all the full-size guns that I've had, I'm used to having a groove for my pinky, because the grip is usually a little bit larger, at least down to here, and on my XDM it extended probably down to here. But so it took a little bit of getting used to, just either leaving your pinky around here or swinging it underneath, and that was a little bit difficult to get used to. But since then I've gotten a Pierce grip. It's a +3. That's probably backwards because of the Mac, sorry. It's a +3 grip extension, and this one's empty as well. And what it does is it allows your pinky to get flush right along that bottom. And I was shooting well with this magazine, but more recently I've taken this one to the range, and it just helps so much more with muzzle flip because you can control it that much more. And it's one of those things that you really notice when you take it to the range and shoot for your own personal use. Another thing that really drew me to Glock was the fact that they have so many accessories. You could walk into just about any gun store and come out with about 1,000 items that are made specifically for Glock. And some of them I don't really care for. Some of them are cool, like the little the back plate that you can get customized with all the different logos and stuff. And that's cool, but practical wise, it's not all that practical. And I'm thinking from like a strictly personal protection, home defense, concealed carry standpoint. I'm more for the practical, pinky extension. You can get a better grip, shoot more accurately, use less rounds if you need to, God forbid, use it. But things of that nature, practical things, more like what I just discussed. And also, the amount of holsters that you can get for these things are ridiculous. I mean, there's a lot for just different handguns in general, but Glock especially, they do a phenomenal job of accessorizing, making those accessories available. So there's a few that I have that I want to talk about. Most of them are fairly new. And I can't find the one that I used a while back, but I think it's in my car. Maybe I'll do a separate review on that a little bit later. But I'll start out with this one. This is a Blackhawk Pancake holster, 3-slot Pancake holster. There's 3 right here. You can either attach it straight up and down, which is kind of what I prefer, or you can can it and put it on your belt, which I found since I carry it more like the 3 or 4 o'clock. That's my dog. Since I carry it around the 3 or the 4 o'clock position, it makes it really awkward to draw. And I'll kind of stand up and try to show you. When it's right here on my belt, straight up and down, I can draw it much easier than if it was like this, because I almost have to break my wrist to get it out. And even when I set it back here, it still makes it a little bit awkward. So if I'm carrying this one, I definitely prefer straight up and down, which kind of leads me into another good point. This is really easy to conceal in the winter, because I'm usually I throw a Carhartt on and I go out to the to the store or whatever. Your belt stops right here, and you're only extending maybe not even a 1/4 inch below your belt. So if you have like a shorter jacket or maybe like a fall time, this would be great. And it's really comfortable. It's made out of pretty high quality leather, feels like. Made in Italy, it says right on the back, so that this is a good product. And also these all the rivets and stuff that they used to put the snaps on, those are pretty high quality. They're on there, so and you can hear a pretty audible click when you close it or open it back up. And that thumb brake, it breaks really easily when you have your weapon in there. So I like this holster. I would recommend it, by Blackhawk. The next one is also by Blackhawk. I actually bought it on Amazon, though. I got a little bit better price on it. This is their Serpa 2 holster from Blackhawk. And I've had one of these before with my 1911. And this one, for some reason, feels just a little bit better made. Not saying the other one was bad, but my 1911 didn't really fit as well in that one as my Glock does in this one. When I reholster on this one, you can hear the audible click, and it's not going anywhere. There's not really any play in it either. You can't really move it. Sometimes with these holsters, you can move it a little bit to the left or to the right, and you can move it up or down a little bit, but this one's pretty solid. I don't know if it's this particular one or I don't know. The other Serpa holster that I have is from a few years back, so maybe that's maybe they've made some design changes to them, but this one feels great. And I got the little carbon fiber finish because just because it looked cool, but there's no practicality with it besides looks. Like I said, I got it on Amazon for a pretty cheap price, so you can check that out. There's also, I think it's called opticsplanet.com. They sell these for, last time I checked, it was I think close to $30, so that was really good. I paid a little bit more for this one before I found out about that website, but I'll definitely check that website out now. And these are great holsters. What you have is this piece right here that you can attach for a belt, and these little screws will actually, you can undo them and slide them up or down to adjust for your belt width, which is awesome. And then if you don't want to use it on your belt, you want to use it on let me grab this piece, as a pancake, or not a pancake, excuse me, paddle holster. You can pop this guy on by unscrewing these 3 screws, lifting this off, and placing this piece on like this. This one's great too. I just prefer that if I'm going to take the time, I might as well just put on my belt. Also, it's less bulky, and you don't feel as much. Although this one is pretty comfortable. It really contours to your hip wherever you're carrying it, so that one's nice. But like I said, I prefer this one. And then also you have the screw down here. This is I'm trying to get this correct, your passive retention, which basically makes it looser or tighter, and then easier or more difficult to get out, to unholster, to draw your firearm. So this is your active, because it is actively engaged with your trigger guard. I had a brain fart. With your trigger guard, and it catches the front, and what it does is it doesn't allow it to release until you press this pin, or press this little lever, and then you're able to draw your weapon. And what I also like about these things, I've read a few reviews about, you know, people saying they accidentally discharge or whatever because they're using the wrong fundamentals when they release their firearm. But if you're doing everything right and you're keeping a good firm grip on there, your finger's going to be right in the way where it needs to be, and it slides out just that easily. And reholstering, you know, really audible. It's really noticeable. Another thing that I like about this holster is, like I've kind of alluded to, you don't have to worry about it moving around, bouncing around. You can do cartwheels in this thing and it won't budge, which is really great, not only for a range, I guess more personal range. Most ranges don't allow holsters, at least not in Indiana. But for, you know, shooting in the backyard type thing, concealed carry in the winter, what have you, it's a great option. And the third holster that I don't have was actually the first one that I bought. I think it's a the brand, I can't think of the brand name right off the bat, but it's a tan leather kind of thin holster. It's more for really concealing. It's super thin, and it really forms to your weapon. I actually, when I bought it, I took it back about 10 minutes later and told the gun store that I bought it from that it didn't fit because it was that snug. But once you had put it on there, the you know, your sweat from your hands and stuff, it kind of helps it to stretch out. And just from sitting in that that glove for so long, it really forms to every nook and cranny of this thing. And now I can slide it on and off no problem, but it gives you enough resistance that you don't have to worry about it flying out or moving around on you. And it's also got a thumb brake like this Blackhawk right here. And I'll have to do a separate review on it later, but so let's see, this Glock, I'm going to back off the accessories and stuff for a few minutes and talk more about I guess my preference as to why I really prefer Glock now. I'm not a spokesperson for Glock. I kind of wish I was, though. That'd be awesome to work for them. I also remember one other point that I was going to talk about is the ease of field stripping. My XDM was fairly easy. You lock it back. There's a little slide takedown lever. You flip it, and you release the slide, and it'll come right off. That's pretty easy too. But I mean, the Glock, for simplicity, there's no levers you got to flip. You can take it down in about a second. And it's real easy and really simple for beginner shooters. I've taken my wife out to the range, and she really enjoys this gun. And you don't have to worry about teaching her all the bells and whistles and stuff. You know, you got to hold it a certain way, and you got to lock it back using this button down, and here's your decocker, and you know, it's just really simple for. I'm not saying females are stupid, but you know, for beginner shooters, which more than likely women are more on the beginner category. There are a few advanced, I'm sure more advanced than I am, but you know, more than likely they're more beginner stage. So this is a great gun. I was a little bit leery when I started carrying Glock, though. For the first little bit when I started carrying concealed with this gun, I didn't carry around in the chamber just because after firing it, the trigger is a lot different. It's you know, it's about the same trigger pull, but it's a lot more crisp. With the other ones, you can kind of feel. I could, like for example, with my Smith & Wesson SD9, I could almost stage the trigger right where I needed it to be, and then move it about a millimeter to actually fire the weapon, and I knew exactly when it was going to go off. With this one, I still know when it's going to go off, but it's a lot crisp break. There's no play, I guess is the best way to say it. And the controls are, you know, super easy. I really like the addition of the back strap. When I had my XDM, that was one of my favorite features, that I could really customize it to my own grip. And then there's also the Gen 4 is specific for having the oversized magazine release. I can't talk. The oversized magazine release, which comes in handy. You know, you don't have to really fiddle so much until you actually are able to release it and, you know, reload or what have you. So I really like that feature. You know, everything else is just Glock. It's a great product. let's see, what else do I want to talk about? I talked about the ease of use. Well, I guess I'll go ahead and field strip it for you real quick. So, you know, I've already done this once, but there's nothing in the chamber. You can actually see my eye. There's nothing in there. I'll finger check it for you. So there's nothing in there at all. You basically just release the slide, point it in a safe direction, you pull the trigger, then you're going to move it back about 1/8 of an inch. I don't know if you can see that, but it's barely moving. About that much. Just pull it back like that. There's these slide takedown lever, I guess it's called, and there's one on both sides, and you're just going to basically pinch it, push it down, and your slide will come straight off, and you just pull it right off the front. So here's your lower assembly, and this includes like your trigger housing group and your slide paws and, you know, all your other bells and whistles. You got your slide catch. So this is, I mean, that's pretty simple. You can take it down, but I don't think I've taken it down much more past this, just because I'm not a gunsmith and I don't have some of the parts that are necessary to take this down. Maybe on more fiddling with it, and as I've owned it for longer, maybe I'll, you know, take it down further, but for now this is where I'll stop. This is your slide assembly. You got your spring, you got your barrel, and then you have the rest of your frame that you can take down further. You know, you can take out the striker and all your trigger safety mechanisms and stuff, and your back plate. But for now, this is all that I take it down to clean. You know, normal coming back from the range, cleaning it that night type deal. So it's just that easy. I mean, that was with explanations and on video, and you know, that was probably under a minute still. And then to put it on is the exact same way. I guess I should have showed you that, but you just put all your pieces back together, you slide your slide back on, and then you just have to reset it, basically that 1/8 of an inch that you pulled it back before, in order to, you know, lock it back into place so that you can't pull it back off. So overall, great gun. If I were to give it a letter grade, I would have to think about it some more, but it would definitely be in the A range. For, you know, accessories and just ergonomics, and I guess one thing that I didn't talk about was this thing is super accurate. I'm pretty accurate with most guns, but this one was above and beyond. I don't know if it was the trigger or what it was, but it's really well balanced. I can shoot it really well, and I would trust my life with this weapon. I guess that's all I have really to say about the Glock 26. It's a great gun. If you don't have one, go pick it up. This is a Gen 4. It's awesome, and you will not regret it. And then you can comment me back and say thank you for me telling you, because it's an awesome gun. So, until next time, Semper Fire.